Unable to stand, covered in his own urine, a Minnesota postal worker rolls around on a jail cell floor, arrested for a crime he did not commit.
Hi guys, my name is Esther Daniel and you're welcome back to the channel. I don't know if you all have heard about this. A black man in Minnesota got pulled over for driving the wrong way. Looked confused, and instead of thinking maybe he was sick, cops assumed he was on drugs. They called in a drug expert, but he said it wasn't worth his time. So they threw the man in a cell covered in his own piss, having stroke, and said he was fine. But by the time he was took to the hospital, it was too late. No drugs in his system, just another black man punished for existing. Let's get into it.
Our investigation finds how Kingsley Bimpong ended up behind bars is the real story. Earlier that night, Eagan police spotted Kingsley driving the wrong way into oncoming traffic and stopped him. According to the police report, Kingsley was extremely confused.
Where do you live? I don't know.
See, this is where everything starts to go left. He's clearly confused, but to them, confusion automatically means drugs. Like, God forbid a black man makes a wrong turn. They will assume it's a felony before they ever think it could be a medical emergency.
A drug recognition evaluator, or DRE, responded. Their officers, specially trained to detect drug-impaired drivers and spot the difference from those having a medical emergency. But instead of doing the evaluation he was trained to, records filed in a federal lawsuit show the officer is heard on body cam saying it would just be a whole bunch of time wasted.
Imagine. Like, can you just imagine? You had one job. Literally one job. This officer's whole purpose is to tell if someone is high or sick. And he said it would be a waste of time. A waste of time to save man's life. No, this is not laziness. That's prejudice.
Instead, Kingsley was charged with DWI and sent to Dakota County Jail. As he lay on the floor, in obvious distress, guards documented inmate and cell okay.
Paperwork says they checked on him and he was okay.
He was clearly not okay.
What was he?
Dying.
Checked on him and he was okay. Bro, how blind do you have to be? Man can't move, can't talk, he can't even stand. But you're writing okay like you are checking boxes. That's not a check. That's a death sentence.
Kingsley was having a stroke. By the time he was taken to a hospital, he was declared brain dead. The state crime lab later confirmed there were, in his system, no drugs.
So he's brain dead, all because they refused to see a black man as someone worth helping. No drugs in his system, no crime, just ignorance and laziness. And you wonder why people keep shouting, defund and retrain the police?
If you're not a racist piece of shit, I need you to sit the hell down, shut up, and watch this video. Because I'm pissed, I'm disgusted, and I'm furious, but also I'm startled by the lack of videos I see talking about this. So buckle in. So November 16th, 2024, this man named Kingsley Bimpong, he leaves work early because he's having a headache. So as he's driving, he starts driving on the wrong side of the road and a cop pulls him over. So on body cam, he's showing extreme signs of confusion. His speech is slurred. Like they asked him where he lived. He said, I don't know. And so the responding officer called somebody whose sole purpose is to do sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. They called an officer called a drug recognition evaluator. So they're supposed to show up and do 12-step evaluation to see if he is on drugs or having a medical emergency. He didn't do those 12 steps. He shows up there and he decides he's fine, even though multiple officers on the scene noted that he did not smell of alcohol. And throughout this, multiple officers are having conversations trying to say if he was suffering from a medical emergency. For some reason, they didn't want to like verify that. They just assumed. So they placed him under arrest. They took him to the Egan Police Department for a blood draw. While at the facility, the lawsuit says Bimpong stumbled, remained confused, at times nodded off to sleep. A emergency medical provider at the station asked officers if they were planning to take him to the hospital, but the responding officer said it's a whole thing and insisted officers transported Bimpong to the Dakota County Jail. So while they were transporting him, the responding officer who had his body cam on, somebody else said, "Is this dude having a and the body cam cuts off because he turned it off. We'll get back to that. So then he arrives at the jail. Well, he lost balance. He had trouble walking. And despite needing help walking to his cell, the booking paperwork said he did not require further evaluation. Then in the jail cell, he stumbled and limped. He rolled around on the floor for hours, covered in his own urine. And during this time, this was 3 hours and 26 minutes exactly. In those 3 hours, that specific jail has it to where multiple officers checks on inmates every 30 minutes. Every 30 minutes, they said that he was okay. And it wasn't until a nurse came in 3 hours and 26 minutes later when she walked up, he was unresponsive and cold to the touch. He was fucking dead. So then, finally, when they're too late from their negligence, they take him to the hospital, and get this, like he had a stroke, right? His drug and alcohol screenings came back completely negative, and a CT scan showed a hemorrhage and swelling in his brain. So you can't even try to defend the cops saying, "Oh, it was a drug-induced stroke." Not one goddamn thing was in that man's system. Now this is also what people aren't talking about. Hours after Egan officers transported Mr. Bimpong to the jail, it was discovered that he experienced a stroke, which was fatal. The city of Egan said in a statement, while Mr. Bimpong's death is tragic, he was not experiencing objectively serious medical condition that was obvious to lay persons at the time he was in Egan officer's custody, and there was no indication he required emergent medical treatment. Are you fucking serious? I need y'all to go watch every single second of the body cams, the footage of him in his cell, and you cannot defend that. You cannot. This was murder by negligence because they saw a black man confused and they decided he must be on fucking drugs. So multiple people, when they tried to step in, they said no. I just need to get this out there. So I don't know who you need to tell or what we can do, but something needs to be fucking done.
This story pisses me off. So this guy was pulled over. His name was Kingsley Bimpong or something. He left work early because he had a bad headache. He was pulled over because he was driving the wrong way. He appeared confused, but officers decided that he was on drugs and so denied him medical treatment, even though he needed help walking when they got him to jail. And he was having a stroke. And the thing that is so infuriating about this is that you can usually tell when a person is having a stroke by looking at their fucking face. As somebody that had a stroke, I do know that is true. And maybe that's why this pisses me off so much. Also, I've been in kind of a similar situation where cops did not act appropriately. Of course, I'm white and he is black, so there is a difference, and I was not having a stroke at this point, although I did have a stroke later. I got in a car accident when I was in my early 20s. It was not my fault, although they tried to blame it on me. And I hit my head in the accident and immediately went into a migraine with an aura, which I had been diagnosed with for years. And they decided that I was on drugs and drunk because of that. And they kind of like lied in the police report, although it didn't end up working because like I was not. But, you know, they didn't believe what I had to say. And I don't know if this guy tried to communicate with them. Sometimes when you're having a stroke, it's very hard to speak. It depends. And so, yeah, they just let him die, basically, and didn't get him medical treatment. And that is just so fucking egregious. Would this have been the situation if he was white? I don't know. Who knows? But, I mean, just pure fucking negligence. This is gross.
This is what happens when police see color before they see condition. If Kingsley was white, that drug expert would have been all over the scene checking his vitals, not calling it a waste of time. This wasn't an accident. It was the result of a system that values assumption over humanity. I'm tired of saying this could have been avoided because we know it could have. What needs to change is the mindset. Stop seeing black pain as criminal behavior. Kingsley didn't need handcuffs. He needed help. Anyway, guys, I would like to know what you think about this whole situation. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and share the video to the channel. See you in the next one. Bye.